Hello, this is Ronnie with Anything Geek responding to Johnny1518's help. Uh, he had a problem with a piston that wouldn't close. Um, I wasn't completely able to recreate his issue. Um, as soon as I plunk one down right there, it works just fine. Now he's got 1.81. I was unable to access my old .minecraft folders that I've got saved because I've got them on a different hard drive that isn't here. I believe it's just a simple communication problem. If I run that wire there, you notice that there isn't power running to that block anymore. The reason being is because the power, this block has to have power running to it to be powered. With this little dot here, we have power running to that piston and that block. So if I was to take and reroute this so it didn't touch a block on top next to that piston, we'd still be powering it. If I were to go like that, this power line would be walking across and going by. And now at ground level with pistons, power running by them does not power them. It has to be power on top to power them. However, if we do this, put one there, this little block power, this little piece of redstone puts power to this block. So this block has power to power that piston that he's having trouble with, and it also has direct power to this piston right here to push this block out. Now in 1.8, I imagine there was an issue with this acting like it ran power by improperly. So I imagine that's why he was having that issue. Now when we do it this way, we're not powering this block here, but we can do it by going that way. So I think to solve all your grief and worrying about whether or not to power the block, I'm just going to give you a little quick shot on the best way to power pistons. Directly powering them with repeaters is, I think, the #1 way to operate a piston reliably. So you could throw down two pistons side by side, put a repeater going into each of them, no matter how many, well, until you run out of power, those will run direct power all the way too, so you can run a bunch of pistons side by side. So if we were to plunk down piston, piston, we would be able to run all those pistons side by side. Whereas if we were just going to run power by them, the power would simply go right by the pistons. So you have to have power going directly into a piston when it's at the ground level with the piston to power it. And the setup you have, that's kind of how it's working. If we take that off, now we've got this block being directly powered, which powers the piston. And then this acts as a direct connection to that ground piston there. If we were to do it that way, we only get that block, but then we could run this by over the top of the piston. But what I think you're wanting to do is hide your wires so people can't see them, #1. So using repeaters would be the best bet. You've got, if you put a repeater one block below, that repeater powers that block that's directly below the piston, and then it powers the piston. So you got more room to hide your wiring. If somebody sees your wiring, they'll know something's going on. So if they walk up and there's wires there, even though the doors are closed, they're going to think something's going on. So I think what would be the best bet for your setup for what I think you were planning to do here would be, let's see, a couple right there. And we're going to need these powered until they're switched, and then the power will go off. So we'll put a torch there, turn that into a NOT gate in just a moment. We'll run wire this way. Do the same thing on this side. Make our NOT gate. Put repeaters down facing the pistons, and now we've got it closed. Now all we got to do is have a trip pad, and so I'd recommend using the stone ones. That way they hide a lot better. So if somebody's walking up, it just goes out underneath them. And you can hide the rest of this with sand, but of course I would do this to hide those trip pads as good as possible. So if somebody's walking up, they don't see them quite as easily. And then you can hide that. You can put sand directly on wires and they'll be okay. Again, I know you have 1.8.1, but this setup I'm fairly certain works just fine in that version. But yeah, so if it's like this, you've got those trip pads, they're communicating with the wire directly below the block, which turns off our NOT gate. And when our NOT gate goes off, the pistons retract, hence opening the door, and we fall to our doom. It's amazing how much light those put off. But yes, so that would be the way I would do it. That would solve your problems for sure. You wouldn't have to worry about the communication problems with the pistons and the wires. If you have any questions, just reply back to this video, and I hope I helped you out. Alright, hello, this is Ronnie with Anything Geek, responding to Johnny's